Hi guys, my name is Kendra Freed and today we'll be talking about A Soul from Ash and Blood. Full spoiler alerts, we're going into detail about this and throughout the series. So if you haven't read it yet, I suggest hopping off. If not, let's get into it. I started reading the From Blood and Ash series about a year ago, and I really enjoyed the first book. I really liked Poppy. I really liked Castile. Castile. I call him Castile. Again, we butcher things here. I really liked those two, and I liked the story. It was a different type of story from what I was used to reading, and I really enjoyed that. I will admit, the writing throughout the series, I do feel like it lacks, and it picks up a lot more modern slang throughout the series. And this is a book that's based kind of in like the Witcher, Game of Thrones era, where they're not saying things like, oh, this place gives off bad vibes. They weren't saying things like that, but I do enjoy the overall story. I love Kieran so much. I go back and forth calling him Kieran or Kyrian. I love him. He's my favorite character out of all of this. I do love Castile very much so. He's up there with Reese. With Reese. I was gonna say Raisin because that's how I pronounce it, even though I know it's Raisin, but I say Raisin. He's right up there with Reese. I truly enjoy the series. I do notice plot holes. I do notice like sometimes the writing does kind of This is the 5th book in the series, is A Soul from Ash and Blood. I didn't realize that they switched Ash and Blood because it should be From Blood and Ash, but they did switch it up on this one. This came out July 18th, and this is a retelling of the first book from Cass's point of view. But in this book, he was called Hawk because he hid his identity. Here's the thing. When people come out with the male version's point of view of a book, for me, I never truly enjoyed as much as I did the first one. And I know it's because like that's the main book, and of course, but what happens to me is sometimes these people will make the first book and then years go by and they are now coming back to the first book and they have to go back to what was that character thinking during this dialogue? What was going through their mind? How can I set up this dialogue? And sometimes I feel like what they in the current times is trying to say like, oh, this was behind their head when they were trying to have this scene with the female character, sometimes doesn't display right what comes from their words. It's kind of like they'll be in their mind, they'll be talking about like apples and oranges, but what comes out of their mouth, they're talking about what happened last Tuesday. And I'm like, how sometimes it doesn't read well. I thought that this book did well on that she did give a lot of good thought behind the interactions and a lot of good thought behind the interactions in his dialogue. I did enjoy that. That's probably all I enjoyed from this book. I feel like this book was completely unnecessary. It does add a couple behind the scene bonuses about how he killed the Duke in the first book, which was fast. It also showed how he did have to kill a couple extra people, how he handled things when they got to New Haven. He does go into a little bit more detail of his experience when he was captured by the Ascended, and it also shows his strength and relationship and bond with Kieran. Here's the thing though, we got 4 books already that explain all of this. I know he's tight with Kieran. I know that they're bonded. I know that they're best friends and that they can damn near read each other's minds. Like we already knew this. We've had 4 books explaining that. Not only did we have 4 books explaining that, we had 4 books explaining that he got captured. They used his blood. They tortured him. He had to do unspeakable things. They never go into detail of what some of those unspeakable things are. They just keep saying he did unspeakable things. They even had a guy in this book that he said that he was a lord, and he said that Cass's blood was used to ascend him. He's like, I've seen the horrible things you've done. And it's like, then tell me, what are these horrible things he has done? I know maybe I don't want to know, but like you can't keep saying these horrible things and not give us some detail. You killed some people? Great. Everyone's killed people in this book. Castile literally rips a guy's spine out. In this book, he punches a guy's heart out, throws it into a fire. So you can't tell me he's done unspeakable things, but I've seen him do unspeakable things. All right, is that just me? That's just me. The start of this book is right after, literally right after the War of Two Queens. And Kieran, Niktos, Poppy, and Cass, they're all walking and they're trying to find more people. They're trying to find Poppy's dad because he's locked in a cage and still in his mountain lion form. Or maybe it wasn't it was a mountain cat. That's what it was, a mountain cat form. They do find him, and he kind of gives a little bit of backstory about Niktos is going, or oh my gosh, Niktos. That's another thing. The Niktos, Colas, Solus, like Malik and Malik. Like that drives me insane. I get them confused sometimes, and sometimes it's just, I hate that there's no, anyway, there's many names. Oh, that's another thing. Hi, how you doing? Come here. I love romantasy. I love fantasy books. I love all of it. Okay, it doesn't have to be just romantasy. It could be like I'm reading the Witcher series as well. I love all of it. Here's the thing. Where did you go? For the reader. Most of these fantasy books, when you get a fantasy book, it starts off with a map. That's great. It gives you a visual because they're always talking about, we got to go to Bloodhaven. And then we got to go through the blah blah forest to get to the blah blah blah. That's great. I love that. Please put maps. Here's the thing though. These are just characters. We have several pages to tell you how to pronounce. Those are just characters. Then we have places, and then we have terms. This is like 10 pages of special made up words. Stop making up words. You don't need to have 10 damn pages to explain all of these people. It's okay to throw a John in here. You can have a guy named Mark. Like, we don't need to have Defina and Davina right here. Defina and Davina. Why? Why? Do we need to have two girls so close to the same names? Just have one girl named be Daphne. Like, we don't have to have all of these crazy names. It's like the realm they live in is Solus, but the bad guy's name is Colas. You know what I mean? You have Niktos and Niktos. And that is where sometimes I feel like we can step our game up, and we can have, I'm not saying the main guy, the main primal lord's name is John. I get that he needs to have some type of good name. Can we just pick a name that doesn't sound similar to other characters and break it off just a little bit? Anyway, they are looking for Poppy's dad. They find Poppy's dad, and Niktos and Reaver fly him back to where the gods rest, and they're going to start preparing for war. But there's all these thunder strikes and rumblings that they're saying that all these noises that are shaking the castle, it's gods waking up from their slumbers because they're ready for war, and that not all gods like the primal life and the primal of death, and that the gods were very much divided when Colas was still awake, and so they're preparing for war. The problem is Poppy never finished her calling, and so she's starting to get a little like woo and and she's getting wobbly, and Niktos says she needs to go to sleep. She needs to fully ascend and complete her calling because she's a primal and she never did it. She's been fighting wars. Poppy falls into a deep stasis, and so Cass tries to find a place to put her safely because they're technically in the enemy's castle still because they just conquered it. And they find her a room, but Niktos says that you need to talk to her because there's a good chance that she can lose her memory of who she was, who he is, where she's at, her powers and her abilities. So he needs to explain to her, just talk to her, and they don't know how long the stasis could be. It could be hours, it could be a day, it could be weeks, it could be months. No one knows. So he's been encouraged to stay with her, protect her because she's vulnerable, because obviously she's in a deep sleep. She can't do anything. So he and my boy Kieran stay behind and protect her. And he tells the first retelling of the book. Again, it doesn't add much detail, I feel like. It does show a lot more Kieran, but it also shows him saying a lot of modern slang. And in the first book, I felt like he was, what I picked up from him, he was very poised and rational and took things and understanding. Like he always, I felt like took a while to like think of a clear-cut response, and I didn't feel like he would say things like, this is bad vibes in this forest. And when he said this, I'm like, is this supposed to be someone else? Because this ain't Kieran. Kieran ain't saying shit like this. One thing I did enjoy was Castile's commentary on a lot of things, because he hit a lot of major scenes. He was actually there in the first book. He's hidden behind a tree or he's behind a pillar, and his commentary is actually hilarious. There's a lot of times where he's just like, come the fuck on. And I was like, I agree. I did enjoy that. So he tells the first retelling of the first book, which starts with how they didn't even explain how he got on the rise. He's like, Commander Jansen says I'm on the rise now, and now he's here. They explain how he first met Poppy, how he became her guard, how he met her at the Red Pearl, how he met her under the willow tree, how he met her when she tried to steal Miss Willa's diary. They explain the first time they hook up, the first time they kiss, when she finds out the truth about him being the Dark One, then that everything she knows is actually the opposite, and the people she thought were the good guys are the bad guys. How she stabbed him. That was actually a fun scene to read about. I forgot she stabbed him. There were sometimes I was reading the book, I'm like, oh man, that's right. The Duke, that he has to kill a Duke. So we got to see that scene. We got to see how he handled her running away. We got to see that type of stuff from his point of view. Was fun to see, but it wasn't like necessary to me. One thing I did not like is there are other big important parts in this series. And I thought that maybe, I know this was supposed to be this was supposed to just be the first book, but I thought maybe we get just a couple paragraphs about his point of view about their wedding, when he finally realized she did love him, what he went through to find her when she got captured. I would love to see what he did, what he went through, what happened when he went blood crazy, when he threw a blood haze because he hadn't fed. I would love for him to go into great detail about the carriage scene from his point of view, or him just watching her fight. Like that would have been good, little couple pages just to cover those things. That's not what happened. This book goes back and forth between present and the first book. So you'd have like 4 or 5 chapters from his point of view from the first book, and then drop a little bit of the present to let you know, oh, we're still here. I'm still alive. I'm still protecting you. And when you go through the present parts, it slowly shows that Millie, Poppy's half-sister, comes back, and she said she ran away because she was so worried that the primal life was going to kill her because she's a reverend. And Malik, whatever one it is, says that's her heartmate, or his heartmate, and he had to go find her, but they killed a bunch of reverends, and they're like, how can you kill one? I thought you had to have dragon's fire. And Malik, whoever, said you don't have to have just their fire, you have to have their blood. And Millie has vials of their blood. So she's out here, I feel like, just splashing blood on people. I don't know that's how they do it. They don't go into great detail about that, but that did give some clue. And he also said that the primals of death can take, either the primal of death or the primal of life can take it away. And I feel like it's primal of death can also kill reverence. And Poppy just happens to be both, conveniently. So the last present chapter is Cass falls asleep next to Poppy because he's been talking to her for days. So her stasis only lasts about 5 days. On the final day, he is sleeping next to her in a high tower in this castle, but a reverend climbed through the window with an ancient bone that they carved into a knife with like runes on it. And he goes to try to kill Cass, not Poppy. And he kept saying, you're a false primal, you're a false primal. And Cass like, why are you saying that to me? Clearly it's my wife. She's the badass, not me. But he gets stabbed by that ancient knife, and he gets paralyzed because it's this ancient knife that can only kill primals. I mean, obviously impact can kill you, but this knife was made just to kill primals because it has the ancient bones, the ancient magic, blah, 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 blah. So he gets stabbed, and the Reverend tries to go for Poppy, and he's singing that fucking Poppy rhyme that's just been haunting her entire life, but he grabs her and he's about to kill her, and Cass, through some logic and anger and rage, lightning starts to strike, and because of the bond with Poppy, he actually gets her primal powers and abilities, and he shape shifts into a mountain cat like her dad could do, and apparently through the power of love and primal energy, ripped out that knife, goes and shreds this reverend. Like, I mean shreds. Like, he was some pulled pork shreds. And Kieran comes in, sees Cass covered in blood, Poppy's unharmed, but he sees now a mountain cat in here the size of a horse, and Cass is able to talk to Kieran through telepathy. Again, I don't know. I'm assuming it's because Poppy was able to, because she's a primal, that she was able to talk to the Wolven. So now that passed down to Cass to talk to Kieran. I don't know. They tried to explain it. It doesn't make sense, but it kind of does. Anyway, Kieran has to tell Cass how to get out of this form. He needs to start shifting back, because when Cass was still in cat form, he didn't know anything. He went completely animalistic, you know, but he knew that Poppy was his because he can smell his scent with her, but he can also smell Kieran because they all now, because of the joining, again, spoiler alert, because of the joining, they all smell the same. They have the same heartbeat, the same heart race, like they're all together, and he recognized that, but he did not recognize Emil, who was also standing next to Kieran, when he's like, what the fuck, why did someone get shredded like pulled pork? And Cass was actually going to kill him, but Kieran was able to shove him out the door and help him shift through this. And after he shifts through this, they talk about like, this guy came in, tried to kill us, but through the magic of love and television, he was able to save the day. And as they're trying to talk about this, the castle starts shaking, and parts of the castle start breaking with light shining through, and then above her and below her are the symbols of the primals of life and death, flesh and blood. Was that what? Was it flesh and blood and bone? Let me double check. The symbols for life and death and of blood and bone. Here's another thing that I guess I don't understand is from the prequel sequel series, you have the primal life and the primal death. They got together and they had children. Okay, cool. So now I feel like those two would be conjoined, but they also said that the bloodline follows females for this. So technically they weren't nothing, because now that I'm thinking about this, the bloodline follows females. So they were neutral. Poppy was born. Poppy is now this. Where is she getting the primal ability of blood and bone? I need someone to explain that to me. If someone can dumb that down for me, that'd be great, because I don't understand. Because I know, is it because she's the queen of like blood? What is she? She's the queen of flesh and fire. Is that what it was? Is that why? That still doesn't explain blood and bone. I don't know. See, this is the shit I don't understand. I mean, hopefully someone else understands it and can explain it to me, because I don't know. Overall, I'm not going to read this book again. I did enjoy some moments with Cass, because again, I did like his commentary on a lot of things and how he kind of made fun of the Ascended and how he made fun of just certain moments and situations. I did enjoy of his commentary. I love Kieran so much. He's my favorite character. If something happens to him, we will riot. But I feel like he's got that plot armor because he joined Poppy. And if Poppy dies, then he dies. And I don't think they're going to kill them off. I could be wrong. I don't know. But I wasn't my favorite book in the series. It wasn't terrible either. I don't have anything for this book, but I don't have anything against this book, if that makes any sense. I'd just probably say this is about 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not going to read this book again. I will for sure read the 6th and final book, which is, I think it's called The Primal of Blood and Bone, or Of a Primal of Blood and Bone. It's coming out next year after CC3, thank goodness, because that's going to be my life. That is going to be my life, is CC3. I just now started ACOTAR, the first one. I'm starting book 1. I just finished the first chapter. I'm starting that book for the reread. I will for sure give my thoughts and theories, because when I read books, I write notes down. I have a Google Doc that I keep all these thoughts, and I'll highlight things, or anything that comes to mind, I write it down. It could be anything, and I write it down. So I'm working on that. That's gonna be a lot of fun. Let me know if you guys want to join me for if you want to see my notes. My notes are hilarious. Well, to me, because I don't have a lot of people to talk to about book stuff, so I write notes as if I was talking to a friend. Like the Furyborn series, I have pages of just rage. Pages of pure, what the fuck is happening rage. Just all caps lock, just what? Let me know below if you guys liked A Soul of Ash and Blood. Again, 3 out of 5. It's gonna look great on my shelf. I wasn't mad at this book. I didn't think it was a waste of time. I just feel like, you know, if I wanted to reread or if I wanted to start over from Blood and Ash, I just read the first book over again because I do like Poppy a lot. She's badass. She's fierce. She's out here killing people. I'm all about it. Stabby. I mean, she's got thick thighs and stabby vibes. That's what I want. That's who I am. Thick thighs and stabby vibes. That's why I think I relate a lot to Poppy. My cat's name's Poppy. I do like Poppy a lot. She's a good female character. So thanks for stopping by, guys. Let me know in the comments below if you read this book too and if you enjoyed it. If not, I totally understand. The modern slang almost killed me. There's sometimes I rolled my eyes. I'm like, yeah, okay. Kieran's apparently supposed to say fuckity fuck. Like, okay. Like he's Negan. But thanks for stopping by, guys.